There was a time when these computers were the most expensive and coveted items, and now they're being thrown away like trash. Today, we're going to rescue and restore a 1987 computer that some heartless person discarded in a scrapyard. I'll try to give it a second life and load it with classic games to enjoy it to the fullest. Today on the Retro Stories, we are rescuing an IBM computer from the 80s out of the trash. Let's get started. Having a computer in the late 80s and early 90s was possibly one of the greatest desires for many kids like me, who wanted to play titles like Prince of Persia, Monkey Island, Test Drive, Wing Commander, Outrun, Shinobi, and Golden Axe. My first contact with a desktop computer was in 1990 at the newspaper offices where my father worked. Being able to interact with those machines was amazing, and playing on them was a magical experience. At that time, we still didn't have a computer at home, so accompanying my dad to his work was like going to Disney World for me. He would buy me a sandwich and a can of Pepsi, and I would play for hours. A few years ago, I set out to find some of the exact models I played with during that time and turned to the Facebook group Retro PC Argentina, where users guided me until Dario Martin nailed it by telling me it could have been an IBM PS2 Model 25. Yes, that was exactly it. Now the mission is to find one, but where? A few weeks ago, a friend visited a junkyard and found a desolate scene. There were many loose pieces of abandoned computers, keyboards, monitors, you name it. In that place, he found this. Yes, an IBM PS2 covered in dirt and cobwebs, languishing among piles of metal and wood. My friend gave it to me, and I went to pick it up from his house. Christian cleaned it, but neither he nor I knew if the machine actually worked. When I got home, I plugged it in, turned it on, and yes, the monitor indeed displayed an image. It counted the RAM and started up with IBM's basic operating system, which, as I understand, is stored in the BIOS. I tried the floppy drive, but it didn't work. It's time to restore it. But before we get started, let's learn a bit about the history of these IBM models. In 1980, if you wanted to have a computer at home that allowed you to manage household accounts, write your texts, or enjoy some primitive video games, you could buy a Commodore PET that came with its own built-in monitor, an Apple II that gave you the possibility to add 5.25-inch floppy drives, or a Tandy Radio Shack TRS-80 that you could connect directly to your TV. The latter was the most economical option and could be purchased for about $600 at the time, roughly equivalent to $3,000 today. And prices went up from there. By this time, IBM was an enormous and truly powerful company that focused on developing and manufacturing equipment and systems exclusively for large corporations that could afford the high costs of these computers. However, with the growing public interest in home computing and the prosperous sales numbers of Commodore, Apple, and Radio Shack, IBM began to think that there could also be an interesting business opportunity there. They set to work on developing the first PC, or personal computer, the IBM 5150.
With this tool for modern times, a person can quickly master such jobs as accounting or word processing. Even use the IBM personal computer to forecast growth. All helping the business person at home. The IBM personal computer. Try one on at a store near you.
It went on sale in August 1981, and to build this new computer, IBM incorporated existing components from other manufacturers. The 5150 featured an Intel 8088 processor, Motorola video controllers, and Tandon brand floppy drives. Moreover, in order not to be accused by the government of monopolistic practices, IBM had no choice but to use an open architecture. This allowed other manufacturers to design, produce, and market components, peripherals, and programs for their equipment. This decision, along with some reverse engineering, led to other companies developing computers compatible with IBM's. Thus, Compaq, Dell, and Hewlett-Packard produced machines that worked with the same programs and peripherals. Additionally, no-name clones emerged, which users could assemble by combining compatible components.
These are IBM clones, or lookalikes, or theoretically compatibles. They generally cost less than an IBM, and they claim to run IBM software.
In 1982, other more affordable machines like the Commodore 64 and Sinclair Spectrum appeared on the market, offering an accessible solution that also served as a gateway to the computing world for many people who had never touched a computer in their lives. Although they were marketed as ideal instruments for office and study tasks, these computers, now known as home computers, ended up being used mainly for games and entertainment. Over the years, IBM continued its PC line with new models and systems like the XT5160, which went on sale in 1983 and was the company's first personal computer to incorporate an internal hard drive. The PC Junior arrived in November of that same year, and a portable version made its debut in February 1984. IBM PCs, or IBM compatibles, mostly running the Microsoft DOS operating system, slowly began to become the standard in computing, not only in offices but also in homes.
What company is number one in the world in after-tax profits? What company company had gross sales last year of $46 billion, bigger than the entire budget of the state of California. What computer is a businessman most likely to buy? The answer to all of the above? IBM.
IBM was making a lot of money, it's true, but they were also losing a huge amount of cash with all the clones being sold without paying for licenses. To try to compete against that, the company started developing a new line of PCs that would offer a new hardware architecture called micro-channel architecture, or its acronym MCA, and that would also have backward compatibility in terms of software. These new computers promised to be much more robust, versatile, and powerful.
Announcing the next generation in personal computing, the IBM Personal System 2. Featuring a wide range of business solutions designed to meet your needs with unique microchannel architecture, outstanding graphics, innovative technology, an advanced operating system.
The proposal seemed more than interesting. A new, more advanced system that could meet all the needs, not only of expert users, but also of the young and old who were increasingly becoming interested in technology and computing, particularly in an era where it was repeatedly and accurately said that computing was the future.
In your business, you got a bottom line mission. You got to rise above all the competition. Easy, you're gonna PS to it. The solution is IBM.
The first IBM PS2 went on sale in April 1987, and the lineup consisted of different models logically with different characteristics aimed at various types of users.
It was the biggest IBM product announcement since the original PC. And if the PS2 line didn't frighten the clone makers, it has brought a wide spectrum of potential buyers into computer stores with differing reactions.
Some came in cabinets with external monitors and others in all-in-one types. And in terms of graphics, they offered the new system called Video Graphics Array, generally known as VGA. However, it is also true that some models only came with MCGA, similar to VGA but more limited.
Some say the most important day in the history of personal computers occurred about 6 years ago when IBM introduced the original IBM PC. Since then, we've seen the XT, the AT, hundreds of clones, but it was this original IBM PC which set the standard. Today, IBM is trying to establish a new standard with a second generation of personal computers, the Personal System 2. Will this be a major event in personal computing history or just another new product introduction?
The first models of the IBM PS2 didn't come with a hard drive, but if they did, they usually had 20, 30, or 40 megabytes, accompanied by 512 kilobytes or 1 or 2 megabytes of RAM. This was somewhat standard for the time. Although IBM sought to enter American households with these computers, the truth is that due to the high price, it was mainly companies that adopted them as a safe purchase for equipping their offices.
United chose the Model 50 computers after concluding that they offered the best price-performance combination in the new PS2 line. The Model 50s will become an integral part of United's new focal point reservation system, which brings new enhancements to the Apollo network. United is also using the Microsoft Windows environment so that reservations agents can now look at several aspects of a client's record at the same time, saving time and allowing for better service.
Yes, exactly, because these computers could run the first version of Microsoft Windows or Windows 2 as an operating system. Very convenient indeed.
United's decision to buy 40,000 IBM Model 50s is a major commitment to the Personal System 2 and the IBM standard. But Barry Kotar says the machines justify their confidence.
Although by September 1988, IBM claimed to have sold 3 million of these computers, the truth is that due to the high retail prices, the line did not meet the economic expectations IBM had in mind by the end of its commercial life. Nor did it meet the specialists' demands.
The performance of the machine is really a couple of years old. It's nothing particularly outstanding. In fact, this screen that we've got here is which shows a benchmark running. And it shows the machine running effectively at 9.8 megahertz, obviously not using wait state. It's got one wait state memory, which is kind of old-fashioned.
Despite this economic setback, the IBM Personal System left its mark on the industry. On one hand, there's the VGA video system that we mentioned, but also its characteristic mouse and keyboard connectors. If you've ever connected those peripherals with the round green and purple plugs, well, those are the same ones that other companies adopted as a standard for their models and remained in use even past the 2000s.
When it's not busy doing business, the new IBM Personal System 2 can make learning fun. Homework becomes a theater of personal experience. Sharper graphics lead to new ideas.
All right. Hey, Mom, look at this.
At work, in the classroom, or at home, The IBM Personal System 2 will keep you growing.
This particular model is the IBM PS2 Model 25. It went on sale in August 1987, and although it was the most affordable in the line, its retail price was $1,350, roughly $3,800 today. Within its all-in-one structure, it includes a 12-inch monochrome monitor and a low-density 3.5-inch floppy drive. Inside, it has an Intel 8086 processor running at 8 MHz and 640 kilobytes of RAM. Originally, it did not come with a hard drive, but it seems someone opted to add one later on. However, I noticed that the hard drive doesn't work, and that's the first thing we're going to fix. Getting a working hard drive from that era is almost impossible and not very convenient. Therefore, I decided to use a compact flash adapter card like the one I installed a few years ago in my compact Presario 425. These adapter cards function like an SSD or solid-state drive, but in this case, there's a problem. Those adapters work with AT machines, and this is an XT, so I had to find an appropriate one. Blue Lava Systems sells some that promise to give me the solution I need, so I placed the order, and now we have to wait for it to arrive. In the meantime, I can continue advancing with the project. My intention with this machine is to restore it and complete it with its original peripherals. Luckily, I found the mouse that corresponds to this model. It was manufactured in Japan and operates using the old-fashioned ball mechanism. It's in very good condition and works correctly, it just needs a bit of cleaning. On the other hand, the keyboard that was sold with this machine is the IBM Space Saver, similar to the mythical Model M but without the numeric keypad. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any for less than $600, which is far beyond my budget, so I decided to look for a standard Model M. On Marketplace, I found one that seemed to work correctly but was missing two keys, the insert and the right arrow. Actually, what's missing are not the keys, but the keycaps. They're like caps that go over the keys, making them easy to remove. I ordered those keycaps by mail, and when I received them, I noticed that the insert cap fit perfectly, but the seller sent me an up arrow instead of a right arrow. You just can't trust anyone. Terrible. Anyway, I started searching for that darn key. I finally found someone who was practically auctioning off another Model M keyboard with several missing parts, but fortunately included what I needed. It arrived, and there it is. The key perfectly transplanted. However, as you can see, everything is quite dirty and does not do justice to this restoration. So I completely disassembled it and washed all the keycaps with soap and water. It took me a while, but it was worth it. Now everything looks much more dignified. What a beauty. This Model M keyboard is possibly one of the most iconic in history. It was created by IBM in 1983 to replace the Model F and was launched in 1985, accompanying the company's main computers. It is the typical keyboard known as mechanical, with buckling spring keys because each key has a small spring inside, which partly generates that characteristic sound of the era. The Blue Lava card has finally arrived. I already discarded the hard drive that the computer had, but to install this new card, I'll have to remove this other one. From what I understand, it's an IDE controller that was installed to make that old hard drive work. Thanks to my friend from the Espacio Tech Museum in Argentina, I was able to burn the Microsoft DOS5 operating system and several games from that era onto this card. Now, with the card installed and the memory card inside, all that's left is to connect the keyboard, the mouse, and turn it on. And oh yes, here we go. Glorious! Using all the classic commands, you can access all the folders and enjoy the classic experience of primitive computing. Even use the wonderful Norton Commander, what a marvel. Of course, this machine doesn't have the power to run Doom, but it can still handle other interesting things. Space Commanders, a Space Invaders clone for PC produced in 1983 by Columbia Data Products. This was exactly one of the games I enjoyed while my dad was working. Such nostalgia. Another one that takes me back to those years is Sokoban. This puzzle, published in 1988 by Spectrum Holobyte and based on the Japanese game of the same name from 1982, puts us in the shoes of a warehouse man who has to arrange boxes at the designated points level by level. It seems easy, but it's as addictive as it is frustrating. Arkanoid is another classic to enjoy on this machine. It was developed and published by the Japanese company Taito in 1986 as an arcade game, and it became one of the highest-grossing arcade machines of 1987, at least in Japan. Consequently, Arkanoid was adapted to various systems like the Commodore 64, the Nintendo NES, the Atari ST, and the ZX Spectrum, and of course this version to enjoy on Microsoft DOS with unforgettable music. Undoubtedly, a good session of Prince of Persia cannot be missed on this computer. The question is, should I load the game normally or use the Prince Megahit command? Another game that is undoubtedly my all-time favorite is the wonderful Prehistoric, the destroyer of space bars, the terror of our parents. Some graphic adventures like Maniac Mansion or The Secret of Monkey Island also run well, but honestly, for that type of game, I think the ideal is to use a color monitor. The one that is indeed a pleasure to play on this IBM, even in black and white, is the mythical and wonderful Carmen Sandiego. Originally published in April 1985 by Broderbund under its original title, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Technically, it is not a graphic adventure, but was classified as an educational video game where we must play as a private investigator whose mission is to find and capture various criminals from an evil organization. To achieve our goal, we must rely on our knowledge of geography, history, and some general culture. My dad loved this game, and every now and then, we would play together. Simply brilliant. Over the years, the game had other versions, an animated series, and even a TV show with contests. And logically, a lot of very interesting promotions and sweepstakes.
And to bone up on your detective skills, enter the Fox Carmen Computer Sweepstakes. You could be the lucky super sleuth who wins a brand new, fully loaded, compact Presario computer. And to get you started, you'll also win a Carmen Sandiego PC software library.
Thanks to my friend who gave me this computer, and to the whole Retro PC Argentina community, we managed to literally rescue this wonderful computer from the trash and bring it back to life. It's time to enjoy it and relive the magic and excitement that only classic video games can give us. And of course, with my sandwich and my Pepsi, just like I did in those old times. That's all for today. Tell me in the comments, when was the first time you played with a computer? Like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.